welcome back to Design Your Life podcast. Today we're going to talk about modern women who seems to have everything. Do they even want a relationship? So let's get down to it.
All right, so this is a very complicated topic, and there's all this talk about I don't need no man. We're at a stage in kind of human kind of evolution where women are making their own money, and that's the kind of like the driving foundation for like not needing a man. But what does that actually mean? And do women actually need a man? Like women don't need a man in the same way they did like 50, 100 years ago, because now it's like a lot of them are part of the workforce. But like,
yes.
Is that the right way to think about it? To say that, hey, I'm a woman, I don't need a man.
Well, I think if you look back at history, there's a lot of technology in play, but also because of like political agendas, now a lot of women are in the workforce. So everything is about equal pay, equal rights. And so now we get to a point where people are saying, especially feminists, they say, I don't need a man. And because that there's a story or a virtue of saying, I don't need a man, I am strong, I am empowered. And yeah, it is true. I believe that is true. But after a while, when you think about it, how does this affect the people in the future? In the now point of view, it may work itself. But if you really think and reflect deeply upon it, what are the consequences and what are the pros and cons that we have to weigh through between it?
Wait, so talk a little bit more about this. I don't need a man.
Yes.
When feminists say that, do they actually not need a man? And like what?
I think when they say they don't need a man, it's really so that they can avoid getting hurt. It's basically a coping mechanism. They don't want to be responsible for a man. They just want to be responsible for themselves. They want to be independent and strong. But don't get me wrong. You don't want to mix that between being self-sufficient. And I think that's where I believed, strong and independent was meaning to be self-sufficient. Those two things are two different things.
So feminism used to be about, all right, gaining the right to vote, getting the right to work.
Correct.
And becoming self-sufficient. And that's great. I'm very, very much supportive of that. And it's kind of like gone off rails and gone to the extreme of saying, hey, now that I can work and everything, I don't need a man.
Well, there's a lot more opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once before it was restricted, now the gates have opened, but now the gates have really swung wide open, the floodgates, and there's just so many opportunities and I guess a lot of distractions, I would say.
So if modern women have everything, they can have the job, they can pay the rent, they can go to fancy dinners, then, what do they need a man for?
Well, I think if you really think about it, human biology, everybody needs that certain something. It's like an itch. It's in our DNA. It's in nature where we want to have shared experiences. Yes, you can do it yourself, but at the end of the day, wouldn't it be better to share that experience with someone else and you have those trust points and build something together as a group, a communal group, and values and things like that? You could do it by yourself, but then where does that leave you? You turn around and you look around and you realize, hey, like I can only share this by myself, kind of like a joke, right? You laugh at yourself. That's not fun. So
yeah, that shared experience is really critical. It's like, yes, you can get your promotions to whatever VP, senior VP that you want to be, but then it's like, well, wait a minute, you have no one to celebrate it with because.
And you have to keep in mind about age and time. In your young teens and 20s, yeah, you're viable. You could get anything you want kind of mentality. But then once you start getting older and people start settling down around you, then people start disappearing, start doing other things. They have different priorities than yours. And so things don't align or overlap with each other. And so when you do, let's say, sacrifice all that time to focus on career and work, yeah, that's great and fine. But then once you hit that pinnacle or point, you realize, who can I share this experience with? it ends up being just either a few people or just by yourself. And then how can you relate when you're all at the top? That's only that 1%. And majority of people are, or mass of people are, employed, but with a good,
So if you're a woman trying to celebrate something and you don't have a man to celebrate it with, you could celebrate it with your female friends, but a lot of them are also then paired up.
Yeah, or looking too at the same time as them. They want to settle or find another mate, or
So it comes down to all humans, not just women, but men as well.
Correct.
Have a natural desire to connect, to form a connection, to have that shared experience. And what this movement is really doing, it's really telling people that, hey, like, you don't need that natural connection. You don't need that kind of shared experience. But in reality, you do.
And the thing is, you have to really think about it. Yeah, you may not need it, but what does that do for your mental well-being, right? That causes mental distress, mental illness, depression, loneliness, all sorts of things, and isolation for the most part. And if you see it, you could compare it to the animal kingdom or animal world too. They need a group of people to relate to. If you're isolated or by yourself, you can't thrive and do well for not only yourself, but for the community around you.
So there are three talking points that a lot of feminists kind of espouse, and there's some truth to them, right? So one of them is single women live longer.
Yes.
Right? So there are studies that confirm this. Single women
Less drama, less
do
stress.
live longer.
Yeah.
A second one is that women are better at finding a support network than men are. And
they like to gossip, relate, or just connect. It's we all talked about in our social DNA. We need to connect. If you don't connect, then you feel like you're on your own little island. And then the third is single women are happier, but what kind of level of happiness do they attain? Is it a surface level? Is it like a deep level of happiness? So let's deep dive into that and break that down for you.
Yeah, so like those are valid statements, and when it comes to happiness, there's studies that say women are happier, or single women are happier than couple women. Both can be happy, but they're happy in different ways, right? So the single women tend to be happier because they're able to achieve more independently. The self-sufficiency is there. And then the couple women tend to be more happier because of that
connection,
shared
bond.
experience, that bond, and someone to kind of share their ups and downs with.
Correct.
And